Hello everyone, EB the Original Master here, and today it is June 3rd, 2017, and it's a Saturday morning, and I'm here to give you guys my review on Unreal Estate and Code Yellow from SpongeBob SquarePants that aired today on Nickelodeon at 10 o'clock a.m. Right now it's 10:33 a.m., and I just finished watching the episode a few minutes ago, and it was time for me to give you guys my review about this episode. On these two episodes, actually, they're these two segment episodes, so let's start with Unreal Estate. So at the beginning of Unreal Estate, we got SpongeBob doing some morning work. Actually, he's like so for some unknown reason, there were like barnacles, they're like barnacles attached to his house, right? And so he's trying to get them off, right? So actually, one of the barnacles that was actually on his house started to talk to him, and then so he like pulls out like a saw blade and like starts blading the barnacles off of his house, and then the barnacle regretted it. So then we get Squidward in his house painting a very odd picture of him stepping on top of SpongeBob and Patrick. It was a painting that Squidward was working on. And then, so since SpongeBob couldn't use the saw blade, he then uses a hose to wash the barnacles off. And this is where the stupidity comes along. Since SpongeBob's stupidity is beyond 9,000 in this episode, he was screwing up with the hose, and then he started like flying around in circles with the hose, and then the hose accidentally went through Squidward's house, and then Squidward got washed away in his own house from the hose, and then SpongeBob turns off the hose, and then Squidward gets very angry. I mean, SpongeBob, come on now, you're supposed to be an adult. Act like an adult. Stop acting like you can't do stuff, SpongeBob. This is why I don't like Marvin and SpongeBob. It's because they got SpongeBob doing some really stupid things. I mean, why can't they make him have brains for once? I mean, come on now. Have some brains, SpongeBob. You're supposed to be a smart character. Well, I mean, Sandy's supposed to be the smart character, but not for SpongeBob's case. So then SpongeBob begins to start sneezing, and then Squidward makes an excuse that SpongeBob thinks he's allergic to his house. And then SpongeBob said, "No, I can't be allergic to my house." He starts sneezing. It's probably from the barnacles. And so he goes into his house, and then guess what the plot was? So the plot is that SpongeBob thinks he's allergic to his house. And so Squidward decided to like take out a pepper shaker, or I think that's what it's called, a pepper shaker, but it comes with a handle that you crank it, and then the pepper comes out. He decides to trash SpongeBob's entire house with pepper for him to be allergic to his house so he can move out. I mean, Squidward made a good point, but tell Nickelodeon that. Nickelodeon, we are in season 10 of SpongeBob SquarePants, and you're telling me that SpongeBob is still living with Squidward? You could have had SpongeBob moved out a long time ago, dude. I mean, you had all this time to do it, but since this show does not go in a chronological order, they can't physically make an episode where SpongeBob actually moves out and stays out of Bikini Bottom forever. So then Squidward covers SpongeBob's entire house with pepper. Gary was sleeping with SpongeBob during the night, finds Squidward and attacks him. It's like Gary was supposed to be like the guard worm of the house, I think. Or the guard snail, whatever you want to call it, like to guard the house and make sure nobody robs it at night. Finds Squidward, attacks him. SpongeBob's saying, you guys are just playing. Oh my God, SpongeBob, stop it. Stop being so stupid. I mean, think about it. You always seeing your own snail attacking your neighbor, so you got to at least do something. So SpongeBob wakes up the next morning sneezing, doing all these bad things because the pepper is making him sneeze, so then he has to move out of his house. So Squidward is suggesting that he should go find a new house, over the fact that he's sneezing, and because of the pepper that Squidward that he invaded his entire house in, or infested his entire house, or you can say cover it. Again, I don't write scripts, so please excuse me. I just saw this episode today, so I'm gonna give you guys everything that I mentioned. So then SpongeBob and Squidward goes house hunting, and this next few scenes is when the episode became really funny. So they did 3 variations of the SpongeBob theme song. You know the SpongeBob theme song, Who Lives in a Pineapple Under the Sea? So they did 3 variations of it. The first variation was a banana house. So SpongeBob's first house was a banana. He opens up at his front door, slips on a banana peel. Pretty comic relief, I guess. The second SpongeBob theme song variation was a hot chili pepper. So SpongeBob comes out of a hot chili pepper. He's on fire. The hand comes in with a hose and sprays him with water. And then the final SpongeBob transition theme song was a sandwich. So it was oh God, I'm stuttering. All right, forget about that. Just forget it. Just forget it. Again, my speech is crazy. I talk fast. Ignore everything that I said. Please ignore that. So the third variation of the SpongeBob theme song was SpongeBob living in a Parmesan chicken sandwich. He then becomes fat, knocks the door, breaks the door off, eats the chicken Parmesan sandwich, And then SpongeBob said to himself, I don't like all these, I don't like any of these houses. So then the next house that he went, that Squidward showed him, was this really rusty old house. So it was like a really rusty old house. And yeah, so it was like a really rusty old house. And then SpongeBob finds the house to be really nice. And then, so this really annoying scene is when SpongeBob was found like a staircase. Then he kept like sliding down the staircase, knocking Squidward off for some unknown reason. But that's the scene that I want to save for last. So let's talk about these other two houses that SpongeBob and Squidward went to. So after the sandwich, the banana, and the hot chili pepper houses, the reason why I wanted to get to that rusty house scene first, because that was the scene that I really didn't like that much. So then they found a drawer. They found a drawer out in the middle of nowhere with a door, and then there's like a lever that opened the drawers open that kept hitting Squidward. See, this is basically a Squidward torture porn episode because SpongeBob won't stop acting childish around Squidward. So he then like pulls the lever around, the drawers keep knocking him in the face, and then to me that really wasn't that funny. It was just really stupid and childish, and I don't know why SpongeBob is acting like that. Then we got this really cool scene of a realistic dining room. So it was a dining room area. So they ended up living in a fish tank where the camera pans out and we see these actual real people. So they actually had like CGI realistic people in this episode. I mean, I really like it when SpongeBob throws out these realistic tones because it kind of makes the episode unique. So yeah, I thought that scene was pretty unique. So got them living in the fish tank, but hey, it's SpongeBob SquarePants. Why don't you slap them in the fish tank? Then Squidward then kicks SpongeBob out of the house, the old rusty house that Squidward showed SpongeBob a few minutes ago, so that he could live in it. So SpongeBob is left homeless while Squidward is living in this house, goes to bed. Turns out to be that it's a rocket ship because he found an alarm clock. He started pressing it, and then it started a countdown, and then it turned out to be it was a rocket ship that Squidward was living in. So the rocket ship flew up in space. Squidward is in zero gravity space. The rocket ship heads back to Earth, crash lands, and then Squidward tells SpongeBob that he can have his house. So since Squidward's rocket ship house got destroyed, Squidward went back to his old house to see that SpongeBob has painted it to his house. You know what I mean. SpongeBob got a paint bucket, an orange paint bucket, and painted the same color as his pineapple. In fact, there were some really dumb moments where SpongeBob and the pineapple having some great moments. That was kind of weird. Ending of the episode, Patrick has a brief cameo, eats SpongeBob's house, and then Squidward has to live in Patrick's Rock from now on, since Squidward said that SpongeBob could have his house that he could live in forever. So that was Unreal Estate. This episode was alright. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I actually did like the theme song variations of the banana, the hot chili pepper, and the sandwich. I thought that was pretty creative. And then it was kind of predictable when Squidward said, what if it'd be sad if you were allergic to your house? Oh, you can't be allergic to a house. But seriously, pepper? Really, Nickelodeon? You're really telling me you wanted Squidward to think that's what made us? No. Here's what I thought the episode actually was. I thought SpongeBob's house was actually going to be, I don't know, like allergic to it. Like, he was actually going to be really allergic to it. But no, it was just Squidward taking out a pepper shaker and then just invading his whole house with pepper. Really? That's how you're going to do it? Nickelodeon, you need to stop making your plot so predictable and make it very unique so we can all fall upon it. So my overall rating for Unreal Estate, I might give this a 6 out of 10. It's not the greatest. It was alright. It was a meh episode. I'm going to put it as meh because it was alright. I mean, I did like some of the variations. I actually did like the realistic CGI stuff that they used for this episode, but the whole pepper thing, that's what it did, was pretty stupid, and I really didn't like that at all. I thought it was pretty predictable, and it was pretty lazy. They could have did a lot better if they thought of a different way of how SpongeBob could be allergic to his house. So my episode rating for Unreal Estate is a 6 out of 10. Now let's talk about his sister episode, Code Yellow. So in Code Yellow, Squidward is out taking a walk, looking at a mirror, checking his nose because he's going to get a nose job. Actually, he was going to get a plastic surgeon from a doctor, and then he starts looking in the mirror, just walking, checking his nose. SpongeBob comes along. I don't know why, but yeah, SpongeBob has to appear in these episodes because it's called SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob hears about Squidward going to the hospital to do a nose job, so he then takes his bicycle that he had from the boating school episode, the little unicycle bicycle. I'm gonna call it a unicycle because it's not a bicycle, it's a unicycle. So SpongeBob takes Squidward to the hospital with his unicycle and a trash can. They crash into the front entrance of the hospital. where the nurse found Squidward for his nose job. So then SpongeBob tags along to be actually one of the doctors. So SpongeBob becomes one of the doctors for this surgery. And then, so first they set it up to Squidward's room. And then SpongeBob shows up in Squidward's room saying, "Hey, I'll be your plastic surgeon." Squidward freaks out. SpongeBob redecorates the whole room with all these teddy bears and all these girly stuff and whatnot. Like, there's like this really hilarious scene of this episode where Squidward was morphed into a teddy bear suit, where the teddy bear had like a heart in the center and said "I love you." And Squidward like just like freaked out, like he really freaked out about that. It was very funny to see this Sponge being so childish and beyond mean, trying to annoy his neighbor. Hold up a second, you guys. I need to make sure that this is plugged in all the way. All right, there we go. Okay, so back to the episode. So then SpongeBob goes to these other different rooms in the hospital to do some coding stuff, like to do actual doctor things. So I was then toured around the hospital to do some plastic surgery. So the first one, this one fish was coughing really badly. So then SpongeBob takes out a chicken's feather, tickles the guy. He throws up his keys, and then SpongeBob saved his life. The next patient that SpongeBob had to take care of was an Olympic runner. So this Olympic runner, his legs technically was all messed up. So it showed an X-ray, and it looked like pretty much all of his bones and his body was shattered. So what SpongeBob did was he took a fish skeleton model and he shoves it into the guy's mouth, the Olympic runner's mouth. All of the bones in his body came out of his mouth, shoves the skeleton model of the fish into his body, and the guy comes back to normal. When I saw that, I was like really, really disgusted, because to see SpongeBob using a skeleton model instead of actual skeleton bones of the fish, obviously. So it was kind of weird to see that, but very hilarious at the same time to see SpongeBob literally taking a skeleton model of a fish and replacing it as a new set of bones, I believe. I mean, it's not real bones, it's actually plastic, so that's kind of weird. And then, so SpongeBob's next patient was Mrs. Puff. Yes, Mrs. Puff had a brief cameo in this episode where she couldn't puff up again. Kind of remind me from Demolition Doofus from season 8, where Mrs. Puff lost her puffing ability due to SpongeBob's stupid driving abilities. So SpongeBob's childish levels goes beyond 9,000 again. He then pretends that the lung machine is a car. He breaks the lever. I mean, he doesn't break it. He pushes against the lever. The lung machine starts to drives around the hospital, knocking people over. Crashes into the windows because SpongeBob broke the levers. Mrs. Puff has her puffing abilities again from the air outside, and so she says, "Oh, you're not going to get your license." That does not surprise me because it's the same running gag, and I don't know why people think that's funny. And so SpongeBob's last patient was Squidward. So SpongeBob was finally going to do the plastic surgery for Squidward, and he uses a spatula. He uses a spatula to do the plastic surgery with. So there's like a array of windows of these doctor's office watching SpongeBob performing the surgery, and this surgery was pretty weird because SpongeBob was actually using a spatula to do surgery on Squidward. So when he was doing the surgery, he chopped up his body, used him as sushi. Weird. Ink started squirting out. He then used a saw, not a chainsaw, a regular saw. He saws his body up. Body pieces just comes out. And then SpongeBob does these very bad surgery techniques. Then one of the doctors was a really small doctor. He wanted to see the surgery. So he accidentally goes into Squidward's nose, starts squirming around in Squidward's body, and then Squidward starts squirming around in the hospital bed. And then the remaining of this episode was SpongeBob giving Squidward all these different noses. An elephant's trunk, a log, Squilliam Fancy Son as a cameo. My gosh, he came back, but as a cameo, which I'm very disappointed with. But hey, at least he came back. Then last but not least, SpongeBob gave Squidward back his regular old nose. And then SpongeBob has to go back to the Krusty Krab as his actual job, ending Code Yellow. So, Code Yellow, it was an okay episode also. I mean, it wasn't that boring, but I thought the whole Squidward torture porn was used way too much in both this episode and Unreal Estate. But seriously, Unreal Estate, Pepper, Squidward using a pepper shaker, cranking it, and Pepper ring SpongeBob's entire household. Come on, Nickelodeon. You could have thought of something really creative than that. Really, Nickelodeon? Come on now. Be creative with your next episode that comes out. So my overall rating for Code Yellow is a let me think. What am I give my rating for Code Yellow? I'll give this episode the same rating as Unreal Estate, a 6 out of 10. They weren't bad, but they could have did a little bit better with this. I didn't like the fact that SpongeBob's stupidity was crazy, and I mean I didn't like SpongeBob's humor in this episode. In these two episodes, they made SpongeBob such a dumb character in this episode. In these episodes, that's what I meant to say. In these episodes, because SpongeBob is usually not that dumb. He's supposed to be like a smart little character, but he does act dumb in some occasions. But in these episodes, they made him so dumb. It was just like, why? Why they had to make SpongeBob like this? I mean, Tom Kenny. Why wasn't Tom Kenny pleased about it? I mean, geez, it's weird. And yeah, so both Unreal Estate and Code Yellow gets a 6 out of 10. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my review for Code Yellow and Unreal Estate from SpongeBob SquarePants. Again, sorry if I stuttered and sorry if I gave out some really weird dialogue. I just saw the episode today on Nickelodeon on the television, so I cannot put a link because the episode isn't out yet online. So if you haven't seen this episode yet, I'm very sorry if I spoiled it. It's because that's how I do my reviews. I spoil. It's not my fault. I mean, it kind of is my fault, but if you guys choose to watch these episodes, you may. But if you want to avoid spoilers, please, for the love of gosh, do not click on this video, because I pretty much spoiled majority of these episodes, what I meant to say. But yeah, that's all I have to say for Unreal Estate and Code Yellow. Thanks for watching. Have a great Saturday. Sayonara.